I'm just going to ask that you it's going to feel like you're eating the microphone.
Oh, we got to eat the microphone. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't have to get all the way up in there.
It's delicious.
Speaking of delicious, it was nice to see Kurt today.
It was great to see Kurt today.
And I'm sad to hear that his dreams of riding off into the Montana sunset are delayed a little bit.
Delayed, but not over. So just still pending.
Yeah. So tomorrow, tax day. Did you file your taxes yet?
We're working on that.
You're working on that?
I got a guy who's working on that.
You got a guy who's working on that?
We hope. We don't have to file an extension, but you never know.
I have a feeling my dad will be engaged in his usual traditional exercise of driving down to the post office to file his taxes. He's one of those last day kinds of guys.
But you get in a couple extra days. It's not till that deadline's not till Monday. So.
Yeah, there is that. Anyway, yeah. So back, Corey, Tom, and in addition to taxes, there's another fun deadline day coming up.
That's right, April 15th. It's the end of the winter disconnection moratorium for utility customers. So that's the important day. That's the first day that utility customers can be disconnected, and then we're kind of reverting back to the more typical framework as we roll out of COVID. Hopefully, we're still rolling out of COVID. But the challenge is, so we had that long moratorium during the pandemic, and then the PSC reverted to the typical moratorium for this time, and it looks like the utilities are going to have fewer customers facing disconnection. We're getting inklings of that already from the biggest utility, We Energies, in a story that was posted this week. So that's a good sign. There was a lot of federal funding that came out through both the COVID relief legislation and other bills that ended up boosting energy assistance. And so we're hopeful that folks aren't going to be in a tough spot. But whenever the moratorium ends, it's a challenging time for folks who are in dire straits.
Yeah, I was just thinking, regardless of whether or not there's a pandemic on, the end of the disconnection moratorium is always a tough time for those customers who are in a situation where affordability is a real problem and being able to pay the bills is a real problem. And, you mentioned that the commission last year at the end of what would have been the normal moratorium went back to business as usual with respect to the disconnection moratorium. And, it's good to hear that the utilities are seeing at least that it's not, still at pandemic levels of sort of economic hardship for their customers. I have to at least hope that some of that is due to some of the tools that either we worked in combination with the utilities to develop or supported that provide some additional repayment flexibility. They go by a variety of different names, arrearage management programs, forgiveness programs, or whatnot. But, at least a few utilities like We Energies, Wisconsin Public Service, Alliant Energy, they put in place some new programs at the beginning of the pandemic or in the middle that, should have, and it sounds like has provided a path back to sort of being in good standing with the utility and not having to worry quite so much about disconnection.
Yeah, that's really it's critical that these programs are out there, that people know about them, that they're out there. It was good to see the state, actually allocate federal money to reducing arrears for utilities, overdue bills for utility customers, and that was a big step last year. But with the end of the moratorium and still, it was warm yesterday, but it's chilly out there today. So people's furnaces are still going. So it's and with the way natural gas prices have gone, that the heating costs are still under pressure.
For sure, I know my wife hasn't turned off the furnace at all. I wouldn't be surprised if I came home and found the fireplace on. but this type of affordability issue isn't just a once a year thing. And you talked about resources and federal funding, but there's assistance money available all the time for folks that they may not be aware of it. I mean, certainly I know when I was younger and didn't make nearly as much money as now, and I'm fortunate to be in a situation now where utility bills aren't top of mind. But I was not aware of at the time that there were assistance programs that could have helped me pay my utility bills, and I think that that's a big opportunity for all of us involved. Us at CUB, the utilities, the commission, and a whole host of other folks to really try to make certain that folks are aware of the resources that are available to them.
Exactly, and there's different resources available for different sets of customers. So if you're in a crisis situation in low income, there is the federal program, but the low income heating and energy assistance program, and there's a one-stop shop kind of form, fill out the form site on the state government website, which is it's a energybenefit.wi.gov. So that's a handy one to keep in mind. And then for other folks who they're having a tough time, but maybe their income is just barely too high to qualify, there are other options. There's a Heat for Heroes program, and then the Keep Wisconsin Warm and Cool Fund. So those two programs are definitely things that people should reach out to. And then the last one I was going to highlight, which is brand new, is it's through a new congressional initiative. Is there's now a LIHEAP for water, so a low income water assistance program for folks who are struggling with their water bills. And so there are a lot of resources, especially even through the newer resources out there, especially through the federal funding, both the rental assistance program and a mortgage assistance program that were enacted, both allow for assistance on utility bills in addition to assistance on rent or mortgage. So there are a bunch of resources out there, and sometimes it's hard to know which one's going to be the one for you, and that's why that energybenefit.wi.gov is probably a good starting place.
And we'll make certain to put that link in the description, so if folks are interested in if they need to go there themselves, or if they want to share that in their own circles amongst folks that might need that. One of the things when I think about affordability and disconnections and folks who have trouble staying on top of their bills and affording their utility bills is just simply the communication between the customer and the utility. I know from speaking with some customers over the many years that it's not natural to think that if you're having trouble with your bills that you should maybe reach out to your utility and see what can be done, because a lot of folks don't realize that in many cases the utilities don't want to have to disconnect the customer. That may seem like a sort of fantasy statement to make, and so people think of the utilities as big, uncaring, profit-focused corporations. But the folks that work there do, at some level, do take very seriously the fact that they provide an essential service, and that they really want to treat disconnection as sort of the option of last resort. And it can be as simple as starting with picking up the phone. Having the admittedly unfortunate, the uncomfortable conversation with a utility representative, but just simply asking, can I be put on a payment program? Because there are a variety of options to get on a payment program to hopefully make it easier for you to pay back past bills. And also just asking, is there some sort of forgiveness program or assistance program that the utility has that that the customer might qualify for, that they'll make that path easier.
Yeah, and some of these forgiveness programs, if you can get on there and stay on there, you can have some of your past balances written off, as long as you're making those regular payments. And so that's really critical. And I think it is important to say that the disconnection is a last resort for the utilities. that 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 and it's a lot more. It's going to cost a customer a lot less to stay connected than it is to have to go through reconnection charges and all these other things if you do get disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, utility affordability is a big challenge, and I think it's unfortunate, but I think the upside, if there is a silver lining to the pandemic at all, is that I think it brought utility affordability to the attention of a lot of folks who hadn't really thought of it before. Especially folks that had worked in the industry for a while, or maybe it could be commissioners, could be people, could be executives at companies, could be folks like us who work with utility customers all the time. But really sort of driving it home that for a certain group of customers, their bills they just can't afford them no matter what the situation is. And one of the things that, we talked about some forgiveness programs. I just got off the phone this afternoon with with Madison Gas and Electric Company. We worked out as part of the settlement agreement with them last year to put in place a pilot program for low-income customers to install smart thermostats and to get them enrolled in the utilities, sort of bring your own thermostat program, so they can maybe see some bill savings through, having a smart thermostat. And, some of these interesting programs are coming out of that interest in affordability, but a lot of it needs to start with understanding what the problem is. And I think, and we think here at CUB is a really good development that came out. Really, it was kind of the end of 2020, but we started to see in 2021, and then we'll hopefully see again in about a month, is that the commission has started to take a greater interest in an issue that most folks refer to as energy burden, household energy burden, utility burden. What percentage of your household income goes to your utilities? And I was flipping through some of that data this afternoon, and I mean, for some customers in the state, I mean, it's really stark. You've got customers where 10, 12, 15% of their entire household income is going towards paying for their utilities. And so that's not even counting rent. That's not counting gas, medical bills, medicine, food, any of these other types of things. And so I'm really excited that we're going to start getting better data, especially this year, and that hopefully we'll be able to use that data to maybe drive the development of more programs to assist folks that are having trouble with their bills.
Yeah, I think we have a sense for where some of the worst problems are in terms of people unable to make ends meet, or where we have high unemployment. But I think it's really helpful that we're going to get better data, and that's something I know that you've been pushing for when you were at the commission. It's something that CUB has been pushing for in the last few years, and frankly, tip the cap to PSC Chair Rebecca Cameron-Vaughn, because she has identified affordability along with equity and inclusion and diversity as a key priority of hers for the whole industry and the whole sector and the PSC for last year and again for this year. It's an ongoing problem, and it's good that utility regulators are paying more attention to this, and it's good that it would be good to see even better data. Too often we're stuck with this. We know what the average price is across the state or across how we compare with other states, but to really target new programs, whether that's new programs for utilities, you really have to get better data, and we're on our way to getting that. It seems like we've already started to see some, and maybe we're going to get better data going forward.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that's important is, some of the conversations we've had with our utilities over the last few years is, really getting the industry collective brain trusts wrapped around the idea that there is no one solution for all utility customers, right? Normally that conversation comes up in the context of programs for, things like innovative rates or special commercial rates or industrial rates to meet special types of business needs, or things that you need to put in to support, new technologies like solar or storage and things like that. And that, they're need to be options for customers, and we absolutely support that there being a wide array of options for customers to make certain they can tailor their utility service to their needs. But that extends to, the issue of affordability, right? And I think that getting better data is going to allow us to go beyond just saying, oh, I know that in a certain county, unemployment is sort of a chronic issue, or there are these sort of affordability and equity issues that are chronic there. We can, at a minimum, take those places where we're aware of it and drill down and start asking deeper questions of why, right? When I looked at some of the utility household burden data, and I started looking at some of the counties, the questions I started asking is, okay, well, why is it high? Is it because they have a bill that's about on average, right? So they're using about as much as everyone else, but their household income is low? Or is it somehow that maybe it's a county with very, very old housing stock and energy efficiency is really low, and so their bills are really, really high because their usage is very high, and so maybe there's other considerations. And it's probably a little bit of both in a lot of circumstances, but it allows us to get a better feel for the drivers and then come up with, a good array of solutions so that we can target those solutions to the people that really need them the most.
Right, and maybe both the folks that are dealing with weatherization or the state weatherization program or the focus on energy and its trade allies can take that information and really tailor something. We've had geographic pilots in the past in this state that target extra incentives for energy efficiency at certain areas, and I sure hope that that's one outcome of this.
Yeah, and some of it is really eye-opening in terms of some of this information because, I think if you asked someone where do you think people have trouble paying their bills, right? Places in Milwaukee, city of Milwaukee, places in the south side of Madison, for example, certain neighborhoods around here. But if you look at a lot of the utility service territories, it's a lot of the rural areas too.
Exactly.
If you look at Alliant Energy, when they put together their report to the commission last year, they did a really good job with some of the sort of geospatial, analytics. They did some really nice maps with some heat maps. And if you look at it, their service territory, if you kind of start with Dane County as a whole is not doing too bad. I mean, they tend to serve not the core of Dane County, but their Dane County sort of service territory is doing all right. But essentially it got redder and redder the farther away you got from the city. And so, it's not just about, impoverished areas in urban communities. It is, to a certain extent,
right.
Partially that. But we also, that's what I'm saying in terms of trying to figure out tailored solutions for different people. We may need to figure out something different for the rural communities. And maybe for them in terms of total utility burden, maybe electrification makes sense in terms of bringing them in and switching their heat to maybe heat pumps. I don't know. I'm just throwing things
getting
out
off of propane or
stuff
whatever
like that.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'll bring some innovation and some new ideas. But I think the biggest thing in the short term is making certain that folks that need the help right now can connect with those resources that you mentioned before. And like I said, we'll put some links. We'll put some links in the description down below, and I don't know, hopefully that'll help some folks.
Yeah, and reach out to your utility. If you think you're in trouble on your bills, or if you're in trouble and behind on your bills, but then check out, there are more resources available now than there have been in a number of years because of the infusion of federal funding. So I think this is a time to really tap that, tap what's available.
Cool. Well, that's good. We'll see what the next week brings. It's possible there might be some interesting commission decisions next week, Thursday. Who knows? I don't know what's going to be on the agenda, but we'll see. We'll see what the.
It's always a mystery until Tuesday or Wednesday, right? Depending on when they release it.
When they release the agenda. So, depending on when you're next in town, we'll get to sit down and talk about some stuff. But I also want to, in a future, future show. on the off chance there isn't anything fun and exciting to talk about, maybe bring Kara or Steve on, and we can talk to them about their story, and folks can get to know CUB staff a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll introduce the new faces of CUB and get to have everybody get to know them. They've been here just over 6 months now, so it's time to let people see who they are.
Yeah, and I think they bring some very valuable and distinct perspectives to the work that we do.
Exactly, and it's going to be a big year with rate cases, multiple rate cases. But so they're digging their teeth into construction cases, and now going to be shifting over to rate cases as well. But we'll get them on.
Yeah. Speaking of rate cases, maybe we'll talk about it next time. But Madison Gas and Electric did file essentially a rate application. In our universe, we call it a reopener, but an application to adjust rates, to raise rates for 2023. So for folks that are Madison Gas and Electric utility customers, that's on the plate for the electric side. And then I think we've said it before, but if you're a We Energies or Wisconsin Public Service or Wisconsin Gas customer, stay tuned. As soon as we know more about what we can expect from the utility and what they're asking for, we'll make certain to kind of run down that. I think that might take. We might have to break that up a little bit because usually rate cases are kind of a long list of things.
There's a lot to talk about when it comes to rate cases, and they're going to be they're under a commission directive to file by May 1st. So we're looking for that in the next couple of weeks here.
Well, we'll see what happens there. And someone is calling. So am I getting a spam call? I am getting a spam call, I think. Anyway. Cool. Well, thanks, Tom.
Can't stop those.
Yeah, we occasionally get the call. It's like, do you guys work with the phone companies? And I wish we did, because I wish I could call someone up and be like, can you do something about this?
Please do something about that.
But unfortunately, we don't. But anyway, cool.
I hope your car warranty's doing well.